backstory, a little bit of desire to crush.
I really want that button with just enter as a voice clip saying grudge match for this one, because it feels like it's so important for this upset, trying to see if he can go up against his old team. And already we're still seeing things like the Caitlyn that he popped off of in the first game still being left open. I'm curious to see if it will be left through the entire draft, especially with Ashe. Greg is still up on the cards.
The thing is, Upset is one of those players that you never really have concerns around what champion he's going to play. He has consistently performed at an exceptional level across all metas, across all champions. Rekkles, on the other hand, a little bit more stuck in his ways, a little bit more adamant around the pool he wants to play. Draven will be the champion that's banned away along with Annie and Jace, Asol as well as Varus, and Caitlyn the final ban.
And I think a huge amount of this is actually the Xayah pick that we've seen him go towards an awful lot, but with the Caitlyn banned, Ashe is going to be taken onto the cards. Now, again, we've seen this a lot in the support role, so chances are that he's going towards Advian, as Photon gives us a little wave as he locks into Gragas on the opposite side. So essentially trading those two big power picks back and forth, but definitely the Ashe, such a menace at the moment.
I mean, that Ashe has found herself in the ban pool so often. And we'll find out whether Rekkles or Advian will be running it. Upset has locked in the Xayah once more. Used that exceptionally well yesterday. And I think the ability to peel for himself, the ability to reposition in fights for a player who is as mechanically proficient as Upset has been fantastic. So that will be the Zeri and the Vi now locked in. So Rekkles and Advian can be running that in the bottom lane. Kaiser most likely going to lock in this Rakan. We've seen that once before, and Razork will be running the Vi. Let's not forget that Gragas is a flex, can be moved into multiple lanes.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see exactly where they are going to end up putting it, but at least the moment it feels like a lot of attention is going to be down towards this bottom side of the map. You have this strong pushing lane with the Zeri and also having that Ashe in tow, so trying to get down there, make sure to disrupt this early is going to be very important for Vitality. But with Razork already having the Vi locked in, it feels like he's got a pretty good start here when it comes towards that jungle matchup.
Of course, assuming that Gragas goes that way. So Vitality now looking at phase 2 bans. Immediately going to remove the Talia, denying that from Humanoid. What a Fnatic 1-2 prioritize. In what direction are we going to see Perks going? Because we've seen the Asol out of him, has been willing to cook a little bit as well.
Yeah, on the opposite side, though, one of the people I feel like who has been a bit limited is actually Humanoid. We saw him going back towards the Azir the other day, going back towards what is a little bit of comfort, and I feel like at the moment Azir just isn't it in the meta. Heavily nerfed when it comes towards his pushing power. Yes, he is stronger late game, but realistically what you need from Humanoid is someone that can control the lane state, buy time for Fnatic to scale into that later portion of the game, and not having the tools to do so, kind of be the savior for Fnatic in these early stages. Limiting him felt like such a weird move to me.
It's going to be very difficult because not only is he facing off against Perks, who is a fantastic laner, but I think Bo is one of those junglers that just seems to always find a way to disrupt his opponents, always find a way to punish lane assignments, punish people wherever they are. And I think if Bo ends up trying to play around Perks, that can be another way to shut down Humanoid, who's lost access to the Victor.
Yeah, personally, I think Bo is the best jungler in the LEC at the moment at finding enemy vision and then playing around it, whether it's going for a weird gank angle or coming in over a wall that you're not expecting to avoid vision. He's been incredibly good at it. Now, I just kind of criticized the Azir pick. It actually is going to be Perks going over towards the opposite side here, taking that one for himself. So I think for Humanoid, might be a bit of a help here where you're kind of going, okay, well now I can actually take something that has push into it, but with Talia gone, the Victor gone, that's going to actually be a little bit of a slimmer pool now, since a lot of those bans have already been put into place by Vitality.
Well, what do you make of the Azir in terms of the composition here? Because you just talked a little bit about it in terms of the meta, and we'll be playing into Humanoid's LeBlanc. And of course, you've got that disengage tool, the engage tools of the Gragas and the Rakan, so I can see the synergies being built up here from Team Vitality. On the side of Fnatic, pick power. Use that Ashe arrow to lock someone down. You can follow up with the Vi. All the mobility from Zeri LeBlanc. He'll have that front line of Oscarinen's Ornn.
Yeah, I think it gives you great setup when it goes. The Azir gives you great setup when it gets to the team fights. Same thing along this side. You're definitely playing for a strong team fight here as Vitality. It's just a question of how well can you control the lane. Now, this is still the quote-unquote, like rework LeBlanc. She still doesn't have the extra damage on her, or sorry, the reset on her Q, the extra damage and all that kind of stuff. So it is going to make it a little bit easier to try and deal with her in the mid lane as Perks. We'll just have to see his Photon going towards the Camille here to try and be that big split push threat. And I think this is something that Vitality have been very good at is, okay, well now we're going to give more resource upset. Can we let Photon just have a good matchup and scale into the game by himself?
How do you see these two team compositions playing out Because it feels to me like looking for those picks for Fnatic can be one of the early to mid-game options, but it's going to be very difficult when you look at the disengaged tools on the side of Vitality.
I think a lot of this is going to be a case of seeing how Advian can set up on this Ashe. Because as you said, pick definitely the name of the game when you get to the mid portion of the game. But certainly when you look towards, hey, how are we pushing that bot lane? Are we unlocking Advian so then when he hits 6, maybe he's fishing for Ashe arrows onto the Azir mid lane, setting up this LeBlanc for his success alongside the point-and-click CC of the Vi. You have a lot of opportunities to try and use Advian in creative ways, and I think it's really cool as Fnatic to kind of give the reins to one of their newer additions here and see if he can perform.
I mean, Advian has played one game on Ashe previously. It was a loss. But on the flip side of that, Humanoid's LeBlanc has a 68% win ratio over 35 games. One of his most successful, most impactful champions. He'll need to use the entire skill set, because when you look at the Azir, when you look at the Xayah, the Rakan, those are all champions that can be a little sticky, can be able to at least dodge potentially some of the damage coming down. So Fnatic looking to pick up their first win here in spring. And just to let you know, we do have a very brief pause as soon as we've loaded up onto the Rift. My eyes are going to be pegged and drawn to Upset in that bottom lane. Upset and Kaiser have completely run away with every single matchup that they've played this weekend.
I mean, 30 kills and assists, 0 deaths. Upset has been absolutely fantastic in that bot side. And I think it has been a great addition. Because as I said, I think the biggest problem that you had with Vitality from last bit was, hey, look, we're going to leave Leon on weak side and see if we can play elsewhere. But when that wasn't really working out, they didn't have a fallback. They didn't feel comfortable playing around Neon. Now with Upset coming in, it feels like they have 3 super solid lanes they can play around, and Fnatic are going to have to deal with that across the map. And one of the big things as well is, like, looking at Bo, he's been so incredibly effective at, hey, I'm going to drop CS to just go and be a menace on the for the opposite team.
He's done that so much because Bo's stats are not particularly impressive, but the impact that he's having is undeniable. I mean, you talked about it. 3 members of Vitality deathless in their opening 2 games. I've got a quick stat for you just before we continue with this. Kaiser's damage percentage is higher than 5 of our junglers when coming into today. Now, obviously, this is a team that is 2-0'd in extremely dominant fashion, so their stats are always going to be inflated, but that is just phenomenal. And then you consider, again, it's because he's working with Upset. It's because Bo has been able to find impact. And I think that first game as well, Perkz playing the ASOL, roaming around the map and dropping comets to create chaos.
Yeah, also just Heimerdinger